Kevin Borba of Locked On Buffs. Deion Sanders. The statement to me is Deion Sanders is the most important coach to any Big 12 program, to that school, to the city, to what they are. And I believe that that statement extends to he's the most important coach to college football. Before you dive in, because I'm hopefully you'll agree, if Nick Saban leaves Alabama, they still exist. They're still preseason top 10, top 15. If Kalani Sitake leaves BYU, I think they're going to find a really good replacement. He won't, but they would find a really good coach. If Deion Sanders leaves Colorado, you lose everything that the program has become from a revenue standpoint to an attention standpoint. If they go out and hire Jim Mora Jr., we're not talking about Colorado at all, really.
Yeah, I think this is, and I totally agree with you, Deion Sanders is the one coach in college football, the entire sport, regardless of level, that is bigger than the program. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying that he matters more than the players or whatever. He is the one coach in college football where, like you said, if he leaves, that program falls into utter chaos, right? Nick Saban, for example, you just brought him up. He leaves, Kalen DeBoer inherits a number, I think it was a top 5 recruiting class. Okay. They go 9-4, whatever they went this past year. And he still gets a top 5 recruiting class because guess what? It's still Alabama, right? Texas has gone through Mac Brown, Tom Herman, Charlie Strong, and Steve Sarkisian. All of those guys have been able to recruit elite players because it's Texas, right? Players want to play for the burnt orange. They want to have the Longhorn on their logo. Same thing with Clemson. They want to play for Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney actually might be one of the few. We'll use Miami, right? Miami's always cool. Miami's always popular because guess what? Big school brand. Colorado, if they were to lose Deion Sanders, would plummet to the depth of the sport, right? All of the players that they have right now came to play for Deion Sanders, came to play for his Hall of Fame staff. So what happens when they leave? Well, 30-day transfer portal or window opens, and I would imagine they'd lose majority of the players on the roster. And also, he's just brought so much energy, so much attention that this program really never had, right? Colorado, Drake, and I'll give you a glimpse into my past. My first job out of grad school, I was a production assistant for the Pac-12 networks. So I was cutting up highlights. I was writing scripts for those people on TV. And if you were a Pac-12 team, and I could say this now because I don't work there, you didn't want to be on the Pac-12 network, right? That meant your game was broadcasted to a select few people who had that network, right? The Pac-12 was very inaccessible, which is one of the many issues the conference had. And so you did not want to be there. Well, Colorado was always there. Right, their games were always on the Pac-12 networks, and I think one of the few games that weren't was they played a week 1 or week 0 game against TCU a few years ago. It was like Brendan Lewis versus I think it was Max Duggan or Chandler Morris at the time. I forgot who it was.
Oh, and it was an ugly game. Chandler Morris who got hurt.
Yes,
which spawned Max Duggan's birth.
There it is. Yeah, so that was like the one game that was nationally televised for them. And so now you look at Colorado. They had all their games on national television. They have one of the biggest storylines in college football, and Deion Sanders leaving would decimate the program, right? You have to use this to your advantage. Use having the biggest figure in the sport to your advantage.
Question.
Yep.
Economically,
we like money.
Boulder.
Yeah.
There are some stupid, massive figures coming out about what Deion Sanders did in year 1. And again in year 2 being there. And like I said, I'm not sure if I can name another human being. Like Bill Belichick wouldn't bring the following that Deion Sanders has brought to Colorado.
Yep.
How detrimental would it be? I'm going to go negative here because we've talked a lot positively about it. If that day comes in a year or 2 years' time where Deion says, hey, I'm good, I'm going to the NFL, opportunities here to coach my sons again, and that's ultimately my goal. Yeah. How big of a hit does Colorado take? And I do think the juice is still worth the squeeze no matter what. If you only get 3 years of them, you still take him. But how big of a hit is it to Boulder, to the university, to admissions if Deion's not there anymore?
Yeah, they saw, speaking of admissions, they saw a rise in diversity applications. Like the school's getting more diverse, right? Colorado as a state is not really a melting pot compared to like California, New York, or Florida, or all these other places. This past year, they made $8.2 million, which was their first profitable season in 6 years, right? Or at least the past 6 years. From July 1st to 2023, July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, they added $146.6 million in revenue and a record $31.2 million in football ticket sales. Now, all of this money, people are traveling to these games. This isn't just like, hey, I'm making the drive to Denver to Boulder, 30-minute drive. We're just going to have a fun like trip. People are flying in, right? People are staying at hotels. People are trying local restaurants, right? You are boosting the local economy to a point where it is flourishing. And you lose that. And not only are you losing one of the most exciting coaches in college football, but your local economy takes a hit. Right. We want all these local businesses. I think it was a very big movement during COVID was to shop local, right? Stay away from the big brands, the Targets, the Costcos of the world, and go to the little mom and pop shop downtown, right? Well, when you have less people going to your games, you're going to have less people venturing out and finding your local business. You have less people traveling. Maybe these tourist attractions where it's like you could go ATV riding or whatever it is, or snowboarding, maybe those see a decline in business. And then people leave Boulder. It's a huge trickle down effect, right? We don't often talk about the trickle down effect of college football, but this is the one coach, like I said, that would cause the program to fall into the dumpster and the local economy would take a massive hit. And I would assume if you're Colorado and the city of Boulder, you are getting this money and obviously you're putting it back into the town, but you're also figuring out a way to hold on to some of it for the long run. So that way it's not like a complete, like Drake, if I gave you $100 million today and then never paid you again, or $100,000 today would probably be a better example, never paid you again, you'd make that money last, right? Like you don't want to just be like, I'm going to spend it all on one car or one house or whatever and be fine, right? You have to make this money last. So if he does leave, you have to be somewhat prepared that your economy and your popularity is going to take a huge hit.
Marshall Faulk, or I mean, anybody on staff now, there are like 5 or 6 pretty legendary NFL guys that are all coaching in Boulder. If any of those guys take over, could they carry the boats? Is this a, hey, Warren Sapp, can you be the new head coach of Colorado and keep this momentum going?
Yeah, honestly, I think no. I think that's the allure of Deion Sanders is he's a guy who was popular at every point of his life and at the biggest stage, right? He goes to Florida State, which has always been one of the premier programs, and he's popular, right? He releases rap music. He has an alter ego. He goes to the NFL and he's cocky. He tells a certain NFL, I think it was the Giants, what pick do you have? Because they wanted him to take a test. What pick do you have? No, I won't be there. So I'm leaving. I'm not taking the test, right? Deion Sanders has always been on the spotlight. He's had reality TV shows throughout his entire life. He's been on NFL Network. He has a TV show right now on Tubi. He has an Amazon Prime show that follows him around. Warren Sapp, Marshall Faulk, any coach you name in college football does not have the following that he has. Like he is just so famous outside of football that I don't know if anyone could replicate that. You could try. I wouldn't be mad at it. But at the same time, you look at both Marshall Faulk, this is his first coaching job. Warren Sapp had never coached before. So that'd be a lot to ask of them, right? And then you start looking around the college atmosphere and it's like, okay, who is a coach that's willing to follow in Deion Sanders' footsteps, right? Because that's also a thing. Even though he hasn't won a lot of games, like he's 13-12 in 2 years, which is great for Colorado. But I'm saying from an overall perspective, who's going to be that guy that goes, you know what? I could do that. Like you're going to hire some offensive coordinator you're going to hire Garrett Riley from Clemson and expect Garrett Riley to produce that level of popularity. It won't happen. Right. I think the one person, and I've talked about this doomsday scenario a little bit on Locked On Buffs, and I'll give you an insight, Drake, is Brennan Marion, the Sac State head coach. He was the UNLV coordinator, does the go-go offense, which is like the 2 running backs in the backfield next to the quarterback, and they all stand in line. It looks ridiculous, but it works. He's a guy that I think if I'm Colorado, I'd go that route. If I had to, because he currently has Sac State. I think they have a top 25 recruiting class as it stands right now, which is very rare because they're an FCS program. So You have to find someone who's out of the box, popular, and willing to take risks. And I don't know who that would be, and I pity the person who has to figure that out.
Yeah. Kevin Borba, where can folks find more of your work?
Yeah, I'm over on X at Kevin_Borba. Locked On Buffs every day. We're talking Colorado, talking Coach Prime. And I also am writing a little bit over at Athlon Sports, so go check me out there.
This has been and always will be. He's good, man. I just don't want him to ever leave, please. Yeah. We need the economic aspect of Deion Sanders. And if he wins, it gets even better. This has been and always will be. Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Crossover between Buffs and the Dose Grande.